So after the chain, now I'll just move on to the brakes. As compared to last week where we covered more of the pull caliper brakes, today we'll be focusing on hydraulic brakes. So for hydraulic brakes, two things that we want to look out for: your hydraulic brake pad health, and to make sure that your disc is not contaminated at all and that it's always in great condition. So earlier on, when we're talking about the drivetrain maintenance, why I said to always aim for the chain here and not on our cassette and not on our chain ring is because we don't want to spray lubricant onto the cassette, which holds the opportunity to corrode our disc over here. If the disc does come into contact with the lubricant, it usually will in the end need replacement because it does affect your stopping power. Most you can use a disc brake cleaner, which you can find on the internet, and you can try your best to clean it out, but if it does affect your stopping efficiency, do get it changed because you don't want your braking power to be disturbed at all, especially it is such a vital component of your bike. So I can just quickly show you how to check your brake pad health at home. Also, do note that whatever we teach here on Tech Talk, if you can try it at home, but at the same time, if you're still unsure or have any queries, do ask or don't hesitate to come down to talk to our technicians for us. So firstly, I'll just quickly show you how to check your brake pad health. So firstly, we just remove our tires here. Just loosen it up. Pull and it will come right off. There we go. So we just lay it down here. Now we are just left with our disc brake over here. So the components here, as you can see, right here, is this metallic part over here, which will be the spring, and the two little shapes, oval shapes, semicircle shapes over here are our pads. This metallic part here, which you have to use a plier actually to remove. So right here is this stopper right here, safety stopper, so your spring and pads don't just come right out. What you will have to do, use a plier and bend that metallic part away and make it straight now. So this will be quite the job to use effort a bit, and afterwards it will slide right off. The pin will slide right off after you make it straight, and from there we can easily take out our pads. So now we have our pads with us. So this metallic component here is our spring. It's our spring over here. It's metallic component. Very sorry about the camera. Okay, and these are our pads. As compared to your traditional pads, these are much thinner but has a longer lifespan at the same time. They come in many forms of material. They come in metallic, semi-metallic, and organic. And it does affect the disc affects the disc respectively in terms of its lifespan. So what we have here, these brake pads over here, how to check the health. These brake pads, as you can see by a thickness, holds quite a lot of health left. So what we want to look for is maybe you can slot in one business card to measure how much health it has. This one would typically be about 2.5 to 3 business cards tall, and an unhealthy brake that needs to be replaced would be around 1 business card thick. So you can use that as a reference, very easy reference. And in the case that you do want to replace your brake pads, now you're taking it out, now you want to put it back together, take your brake pads, look for the same material, the same shape, and you just reassemble it back into the spring. After you have done that, you just chuck it right back into the disc brake compartment. Once it's up there now, house back in, take your pin back and slot it back in. And once it's slotted back in, make sure the stopper does its job and bend it right back. So now that's done, it's not going anywhere. Pads are back, you replace that with new ones. Very, very important tip, never press on your handlebar brakes, especially the front handlebar brakes, when the pads are not in place. Why is that? Because this uses a hydraulic braking system, and when you press on the brakes, what the hydraulics, the pistons at the side tends to do is close in, and when it closes in to fit naturally to the disc brake where it's supposed to be, and it doesn't see any disc brake there, it will naturally keep closing the gap, and it will eventually, you have to move the pistons back using a special tool called the PP1.2. If not, you have to bring it down to the technician to get it pushed back into place. So never ever, when you are replacing your pad brakes, press onto the handlebar. Okay, so afterwards, now you have put the pads back in place. Now just reassemble the tire into its housing system. Okay.
So actually the tires, most of our tires are quick release tires.
Quick release tires, correct. So very easy.
So they can actually do this very, very simply at home.
Just make sure it's mounted properly. Make sure it's nice and tight. And it's done. So now you have replaced the pads, and now you spin the tire, you hear rubbing. So that's not good. You don't want rubbing to affect your riding performance. It just means that the pads are typically rubbing onto your disc brake while you're riding. So what you want to do now is just fix this issue. For that, you need a size 5 wrench. So I'll just take a size 5 right here. So it's very simple to just readjust, realign your disc brake pads. So now you'll hear you'll now hear the rubbing of the disc brakes onto the pads. What you want to do is these two bolts right here, you just loosen them. Just about half a rotation each. Roughly half a rotation adjustment. So now it's a bit flimsy, this housing. And when it's flimsy, what you want to do is hold onto your brake lever right here. Hold onto your brake lever and then tighten accordingly. Tighten both bolts while holding onto your brake. What it's going to do actually is your pads are now, while you're holding onto your brake, it's forming towards your disc. So it's feeling the disc, it knows where the disc is at, and the hydraulics moves accordingly. So now you let go, and if it does persist, you just, you repeat. So now, let's repeat again.
I think it's a simple fix.
Very simple fix, yeah.
Sounds on the disc brake.
Yeah. It's just roughly rubbing, yeah.
Yeah, just people, we have some customers that face this and don't know how to resolve this. So actually all you need is actually size 5 Allen key, right?
Size 5 Allen key, yeah.
Size 5 Allen key, and to hold on to your brake while you're adjusting.
So then you tighten accordingly. And after this, there shouldn't be any more rubbing on your disc brakes. If problems do persist with your disc brakes, just come back down to our technicians to get it tuned up for you. Okay, maintain it. So how to maintain a disc essentially is to not corrode it with anything else. You don't want to corrode it with lubricant. If you do want to clean your disc, if you find that you just want to improve your stopping power overall, there are this brakes cleaner out there to ensure that you can keep your disc in tip-top shape. And in any form that also rubbing can be caused by a slanted disc, where your disc is not straight, and you find that your disc, when you turn, is just coming in, out, it just means your disc is slanted. Bring it back to our technician and we can realign it for you. Or if it's an extreme twist, we will get it replaced for you. Okay, other than that, for your disc, make sure it's always taken care of. Make sure to wipe it down, wipe the dirt off it after your rides, and to never ever let it come into close contact with any lubricant of any sorts. After